to lead us in the pledge.
All right. Y'all ready? Yeah. Let's do this thing. I pledge allegiance. Let's go. Let's flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. And we do have a quorum. I'd like to have a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda as printed.
Second.
I have a couple motions I'd like to make. Is this the appropriate time, or should I do
Couple
it
of
at the end?
motions about the agenda.
Well, just a motion, not particularly about the agenda. When is the appropriate time for me to make a motion, at the end?
Yeah, maybe part of
Okay,
your
I'll
announcements,
hold
you
it
can
out.
give notice or something like that.
Thank you.
All right, for the board chair's report, I'm actually going to defer my time to our vice chair, Ms. Christian Bucks. Ms. Bucks?
Thank you so much, Dr. Gentry. I wanted to take some time to address the elephant in the room so that we can hopefully get back on track. A few days ago, a text message was sent from a fellow MNPS school board member rallying the community to march on the board in an effort to have us cancel the contract of our director of schools, Dr. Sean Joseph. She then went on to encourage those same community members to wear masks if they felt uneasy sharing their identity during this protest. Upon first reading the messages, I felt a mixture of emotions. I felt tired, drained even, because I have consistently reached out to her to support and compromise on the type of oversight she wants to provide the director. I felt confused because I have tried to direct her to and/or support her in developing policies that would seemingly solve the oversight issues she claims to be focused on. I felt embarrassed. Not because she was encouraging community members to take a stand, but because her text was essentially asking the community to do a job we have been tasked with doing. It is common best practice that the community advocates to the board and the board manages the director. As an elected school board, we have three functions. We ratify the district budget, develop and update policy that manages district leadership, and oversee the director of schools. We do this by meeting bi-monthly in a public forum, meeting almost monthly in committees focused on the director's evaluation, budget, and governance, and in meeting in board retreats that offer us roughly 12 hours together with MNPS administration over a weekend. These are the appropriate avenues I wish she had used. She could have added a motion to call for his dismissal while she herself was in board leadership as vice chair. She could have asked the policy governance chair to add it to the agenda of any meeting. She could have opened the contract up for discussion at any of our other convenings, including board retreats that she had flat out told us she would no longer be attending. I was embarrassed that she chose this route as opposed to using her influence and power productively. I was embarrassed. But today, I can't lie to you, I woke up disappointed and offended, flat out offended. Those are the two emotions that have bubbled up the most. I've prayed long and I've prayed hard for God to guide my tongue, for him to help me to remain objective and to remain student-focused. I'm not sure if Mrs. Spearing internally made the connection between the mass protests she encouraged today and those of yesteryears held by the Ku Klux Klan, but I did. Sure if she made the correlation and simply chose to dismiss it, or if she made the decision to send the messages without the thought of how offensive it might be ever crossing her mind. Either way, both are frustrating and shed light on what many of us in the African American community deal with daily. Racially motivated microaggressions that intimidate, separate, and systemically oppress us. Growing up as a Black woman in the South, I have been conditioned to accept the many different ways I am made to feel less than. I have been made to tolerate the ways people talk down to me, whether it is to or around me. I have been taught to see the humanity in others, even when they show a blatant disregard for my own. I have accepted the intensity with which I must work to earn the respect that is so freely given to my white peers. I have fallen victim to stereotype threat. And I have limited my emotional range so I do not show outward signs of frustration in fear that I might be categorized as an angry Black woman. To To have a colleague for whom I once had such respect and held in high regard continue to stand so boldly in her own willful ignorance of how this has made many people feel is at the very least disappointing. And to add insult to injury, I have seen and heard commentary from some community members that would hint that those of us who are offended are simply overreacting. They suggest my colleague had no nefarious intent behind the message. They insinuate that having an elected official suggest community members mask themselves as they storm the gates of the board to protest the black man sitting at the helm is not reminiscent of a not-so-distant past where white members of the Klan too masked themselves as they intimidated African Americans. But when I was elected in 2016, I made a silent vow to myself that every decision I made and vote I cast would be made by first considering how it impacts children. The actions taken by my colleague are counterproductive. They hinder our ability to fundraise on behalf of students, impede the development of curricula that will benefit students, and prevent us from having much-needed discussions around issues that make Nashville schools more rigorous and equitable for students. We have not been able to appropriately advocate to lawmakers that provide us funding, and we have eroded the trust that stakeholders such as parents and teachers who entrust us with their most precious gifts, children. So, I have provided some background and described my perspective as it relates, but that is actually not what my notes here were intended to do. I had to share them. The behavior exhibited by sending these messages are in direct violation of board policies 1.205, 1.101.6 and 8, and 1.1061, Articles 1, 2, and 3. They are actually also in direct violation of a Metro ordinance banning the use of masks on public property. These board policies relate to our code of ethics, our relationships with the community, and our handling of the director's contracts. Our students require our leadership, and that is why we govern. For these reasons, I am urging every community member to call us, email us, advocate to us. Even if you are scared, find a board member that you believe you could trust or would even like to have a conversation with, and let us know what your issues are, good, bad, or ugly. We are here for you. Thank you.
Moving on to committee reports, budget.
We held a Budget and Finance Committee meeting prior to one of the meetings we had before this meeting, and we made a decision on the property that now houses the bus barn, and we're going to do a request for information to see if there's any interest in getting a developer to do a land swap with us. And so we are looking into that, as well as we also are looking into, we deferred actually the property at Hope Park property until the next meeting. At the next meeting on January the 22nd, we will actually do the final vote both in committee and on the board floor for the capital needs budget that needs to go before the council. So we will do that at the next meeting. And I invite my colleague, Mr. Pinkston, to chime in on anything I might have forgotten.
No, Madam Chair, you covered it. Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Governance, Ms. Walker.
So we covered a range of things today. One of them was to have a discussion about updating our water quality policy to align with TSBA policy, and so we'll bring that forward on the 22nd. And the same thing around policy that we needed to tighten up around maintaining test security and embargoed information. And we are revisiting the process for public participation to make it more accessible and make it more timely and aligned to the agenda. So stay tuned for information about that coming soon. That concludes my report.
We're going to move into, and the good news is, we had 4 student ambassadors on the agenda, and I would be remiss if I did not share their concerns that the parents of the Whites Creek student ambassadors did not allow their students to attend because of fear of the advertised protest. And so those students did not have the opportunity to speak on the exciting things that are happening at Whites Creek. So my apologies extended to those students, to their parents, and to the principal, Dr. Bailey at Whites Creek, and definitely the other student ambassadors as well. But we do have with us student ambassadors from Cane Ridge. If you will come to the podium and tell us the great things that are happening for you at your school. Microphone. You look good, though. You want to step out, just give us one more look. Got your little scrubs on. Yes, okay.
All right. My name is Maria Galvez. I'm a senior at Cane Ridge High School. I'm in the Academy of Architecture and Construction. And I'd just like to start off that this was not my academy of choice, but I cannot thank Cane Ridge enough for putting me in that academy. I've grown not only as a student, but as a daughter and many more other things. I discovered a lot in myself as becoming a hands-on student and learning that there's more than just college, that there's also post-secondary opportunities with our business partners, and that we're also granted opportunities of leadership. I led a project, or was quote-unquote a project manager for the junior class of Cane Ridge, and I helped with I believe it's a foundation called If I Had a Hammer. I helped them and guided them to construct a small house inside our gymnasium, and it provided a lot of leadership opportunities for me. And other than that, after high school, I plan to join the Marine Corps. I've already sworn in, I believe August 5th. Like I said, I hope to lead in my leadership skills and hopefully grow on from there.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joshua Timsina, and I'm currently a senior at Cane Ridge High School in the Health Academy. I personally believe Health Academy is the best out of all. No offense. Because I am very passionate about helping people and giving back to the world. And in my way, I believe giving back to the world is through medicine. And I want to give back to the world and help people around my community, because I came from a community where medical health wasn't a very big thing. It was a big issue because hospitals were very expensive, and then medical bills were very high. So I want to help people, and Health Academy gives me the opportunity to give back, and then gives me the experience I need for college, because I want to major in biology and pursue it in a higher level of medicine. I don't know which as of right now, but as of right now, I'm in St. Thomas Scholars. It is a certified medical assistant. I stand an exam in April, so if I pass the exam, I will be a certified medical assistant through St. Thomas Scholars. So, I'm working hard to become what I want in the future, and I believe Cane Ridge Health Academy has made me into the person I am today, and is going to make me into the person I will be in college and help me succeed in college. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello.
Ladies,
we're gonna get your
if you could come
picture.
back up, we'll get your picture.
Ms. Bush, Mrs. Bush, Dr. Joseph. Prior to our board meeting, we had an art display. Is it still in the room?
Get your mic.
It's out in the lobby, an art display from Eagle V Elementary School. Ms. Bush, if you can speak to that.
Yes,
Tell us a
thank
little bit about
you.
that.
The artwork is actually located outside of the doors, because we had a lot of participation tonight, so we couldn't fit it in. So the artwork for the school board meeting is from Eagle View Elementary and was created by third grade students of Miss Maggie Kadeka. To create these beautiful cupcake collages, students participate in a visual thinking strategies session to dig deeper into finding visual context clues and discovering deeper meaning in art. They use a variety of paper materials such as construction paper, recycled map, decorative pattern paper, and textured paper form and animal image to create the cupcakes. Additionally, Ms. Rachel Moda, Town of Cane Ridge Elementary, will be recognized for receiving the 2019 Tennessee Art Educator of the Year Award from Tennessee Art Education Association. She was awarded this honor recently in Gatlinburg at the TAEA Fall Conference. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That them?
Oh, hold on a second, we're not ready yet.
We're not ready for them yet.
We're not ready for the art teachers yet. It's a little early. Okay, yeah, we're a little early on that, Ms. Bush. Okay, in addition to the art display, we also had Whites Creek High School Choir here with us that performed 2 songs. Yeah. Under the direction of Ms. Jasmine Murray. Ms. Murray comes to us as a recent graduate of Belmont University and is in her first year as a director of choirs at Whites Creek. Now, I know some of you asked me why was not performing. They didn't tell me to wear all black, and then that first song was just not even in the list, so maybe next time. But want to thank them. They did a wonderful, wonderful job. We're going into awards and recognitions, and so before the TAEA Elementary Art Educator of the Year Award comes up, I'd just like to acknowledge some other elected officials that we have in the audience. I know that we have Mr. Ed Kendall. I know that Council Lady Brenda Hayward, there she is. There. I see Sharon Hurt, Council Lady Sharon Hurt. I know I just saw Judge Calloway tip it through. There she is. Anyone else that I did not?
Brenda Wynn.
Oh, where is she? I didn't see her. Hey, Brenda. And Brenda Wynn. So thank you all for being here. This space of political engagement and doing what we are trying to do on the behalf of the community is a collective effort. And we all have our roles to play, so I appreciate your presence here. So as we go into awards and recognitions, I'll turn this over to Dr. Joseph.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're going to start with the TAEA Elementary Art Educator Award of the Year. We have Rachel Mata Town, was recently named the Tennessee Art Educator of the Year by the Tennessee Art Association. Mrs. Town is a graduate of Rhode Island College, and she graduated in 2007. She began her MNPS journey at Schwab Elementary School in 2010 and has called Cane Ridge Elementary School home since it opened its doors in 2012. Ms. Town is presented at the local, state, and national levels. She's been published in Family, Fun, and Arts and Activities magazines and has taught for summer camps at both Cheekwood and the Frist. Her true love is teaching art to elementary-aged students. Congratulations on this great honor. We're extremely proud of you.
Bless you.
Next, we will discuss the Tennessee Principal Association Supervisor of the Year for Middle Tennessee. And that will be Dr. Dottie Critchlow. Dr. Critchlow, the Tennessee Principal Association is the Tennessee branch of the National Association of Elementary and Middle School Principals, a professional organization that supports school leaders. The mission of the Tennessee Principals Association is to support, empower, and connect Tennessee principals. In December, Dr. Dottie Critchlow, our community superintendent for the Southwest Quadrant, was named Supervisor of the Year for the Middle Tennessee region of the Tennessee Principals Association. Her colleagues nominated her for this honor based on her consistent student focus, her vision to empower principals to support students, educators, and families, and her intentional work to connect school leaders with mentors and learning opportunities. Congratulations, Dr. Critchlow.
Oh, that includes you, Rosa.
Are you done?
Okay, guys, we're getting ready to head into public participation. We are allowing individuals who signed up to speak at public participation 3 minutes. 3 minutes. That's 180 seconds, something like that. At the end of 3 minutes, you will hear this sound. Please, 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 at that moment, relinquish the podium for the next speaker. The names of those who are on the agenda to speak are on the monitor. Please come up, line up, don't hide in the back. Don't have there be another 3 minutes between you and the next speaker. So, let's go.
Are you ready? Dr. Gentry, members of the board. My name is Eric Huth.
Mic's not on.
Excuse me. My name is Eric Huth. I'm president of the Metropolitan Nashville Education Association, which is located at 531 Fairground Court. I reside in Old Hickory, but as a teacher, I really don't like to give my address out for fear I'm going back to the classroom. I want to start by thanking Ms. Buggs for her impassioned remarks. This issue of the division on the board has weighed heavily upon me for some time. While I can agree that Dr. Joseph has had some missteps and could have done some things better, I really believe the public spectacle, the nature of this debate here in this room and elsewhere in the public is having a negative impact on the ability of Metropolitan Nashville Public Schools to be funded at the levels it truly deserves. We did last year have a number of council members indicate to us that the reason that they voted against the tax increase was that they didn't trust the board. And the sorts of, dare I say, shenanigans that we've seen are contributing to that problem. I know that there are many of my members who may be on one side or the other of this particular issue, and so I'm dodging the minds in the field all the time. But I really would encourage you to act in a way that keeps your students and your employees and the good of Metropolitan Nashville Public Schools in mind, and not the personal interests that are weighing on your hearts. Thank you.
Amanda Kale. Silas Lowe. Hi, Silas.
Hello. Good evening. How are you all today?
Great.
Thank you all for your giving me the opportunity to speak with you all today. I am an employee. I'm a pre-K teacher at Davis Early Learning Center. This is my first year in the district, and so I'm a new member of the MNPS family. I want to start off by asking, does anybody on the board know what the MDVDPA/MHRS deduction is? I can't fault you if you don't, because that is an impenetrable series of letters. What it is the group health plan for certificated employees and retirees 8.04 premium surcharge. The stated purpose of this surcharge was to encourage compliance of the health risk assessment in cooperation with health coaches. It's basically an $800 fee that people who don't fill out a 20-minute survey get charged. So it's $40 per paycheck. There is no stated policy on how this gets communicated to employees. I know this because I was in communication with the benefits department, meaning it's not meeting its stated intent to encourage people to fulfill this survey. If it was meant to fulfill the survey, there would be a clear statement on my paycheck as to what the deduction was. It would be health, survey, penalty. It wouldn't be a series of numbers. They would send an email every time the deduction was being taken out, because that would let me know what the financial cost of me not filling out this survey was. And in all honesty, if it was really about the survey, you'd give back the money after the survey was completed. And I think ideally what you'd do is you'd send out an email every time you were charging me $40 off of my paycheck. Not me. Any employee who did not fill out this thing. Not the beginning of the school. It's been a long day. I apologize. I'm a little flustered. At the beginning of the school year, we go through a lot of trainings which are super valuable and beneficial. There's a lot of paperwork. I don't know if I ever received a letter or not. There's no emails that were sent to me. I know that for sure. So being charged $800 for missing one letter feels disrespectful to me. When this policy was passed in 2006, I believe health costs were much lower for district employees. It now raises my yearly insurance from $3,000 to $3,800. You know, you could buy a house in 2006 in Nashville for a pretty reasonable sum, and as we all know, teaching salaries, by no fault of this board's, have not increased in a commensurate way with the cost of living in this city. So to increase my and other employees' health benefit charges by 25% for missing a letter feels unsustainable in the long run. I don't think that this policy should exist. I don't think that the survey is worth $800, but if it is going to exist, I think there should be a clear and concerted effort to make it more of an encouraging factor. I think the penalty should be reduced, and I think that the money should be given back after people complete the survey, if that's what the real purpose of the policy is. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for your hard work for education in this district.
Thank you.
Dr. Gentry.
I'm not going to address him.
I'd just like to ask Dr. Severe for some follow-up information on this.
Can you hold it for the end of public
Sure.
participation? Okay, thank you. Eli Foster? No Eli? Kelly?
Good evening. My name is Kelly. I am an MNPS parent, and I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. Tonight, I plan to be a voice for teachers and administrators. Since I spoke last, I've had an opportunity to interact with more MNPS employees of all levels. I'm hearing the same thing again and again. You have heard much of this as well, but some of you aren't paying attention or just don't want to hear it. More teachers have told me how terrified they are of speaking up. I already knew this, but it hurts me every single time I hear it. Our teachers work hard all day, every day, all year long to shape the minds of our children. Yet this administration asks for their opinions on what policies or curriculum to use and are ignored, or worse, voluntold, not asked or outright told to institute a curriculum that has been used before and failed. Or in the case of some schools, it's less rigorous than the curriculum that they are replacing. Many of our teachers hate this new curriculum because it fails to place books in the hands of our children. Many teachers have an advanced degree, but are now forced to use a curriculum that makes their knowledge useless. At this rate, you just may as well put robots in the classroom instead. This administration is forcing administrators to choose between quality education for students and meeting SEL needs. In a district with such a high transient population, not addressing SEL needs will leave those children behind, but if they choose quality education, then SEL students are left behind. It is quite the catch-22 they face every day, year after year. Removing discipline policies without utilizing trauma specialists in every school does not help any child and leaves a hostile environment for teachers, administrators, and students. Now that I've spoken for MNPS staff, I want to give you my observations from the last board meeting. Several weeks ago, I sat in the back row of this very room and watched how you interacted. Do you realize how dysfunctional this body has become? Let me tell you what I saw. I saw a group who is clearly divided over political differences based on how each of you feels about the director. It has led to a blatant disrespect of your fellow board members. I don't expect you to agree on everything because you are human, but I would expect to see you listen with an open mind and discuss things respectfully. You may not realize what is happening here, but I and many others see it. Dr. Joseph's leadership style has been to divide and conquer. He is succeeding thus far in dividing you and everyone in this district. This room is proof of that alone. 25 seconds. He is succeeding this far in dividing you and everyone in this district, but you need to take action to keep him from conquering us. His lack of decent leadership qualities has brought all of us to where we are now. Point of order. I still have the floor. I am familiar with Robert's Rules of Orders. I'll continue when it dies down. May I continue now? Go ahead. It is time to move on to a director who will unite us as a district. I strongly urge you to terminate him before it's too late, and you lose every decent... I can stay here all
Guys,
night.
let her finish, and it'll be done. Just let her be finished, please.
It is time to move on to a director who will unite us as a district. I strongly urge you to terminate him before it's too late and you lose every decent teacher to other districts. Let me assure you right now that if you fail to act, you will drive more families to flee our district, and for those of us who remain, to vote you out.
Who's next? Teresa White. Hey, Teresa.
Good evening, Dr. Gentry, Dr. Joseph. Excuse me.
Exit quietly, please, guys.
Dr. Gentry, can my time be restarted,
Hold on, yeah.
please?
Restart our clock, please.
Good evening, Dr. Gentry, Dr. Joseph, and members of the board. My name is Teresa Wagner, and I live and teach in Board District 6, and currently serve as MEA Vice President. I come before you with two topics this evening. My first comments are around the budget for the 2019-20 school year. As a middle school teacher, I'm unable to attend the budget committee meetings and have to trust that hard decisions are being made for the benefit of students and employees. I also realize that the Metro Council has to approve the money that you are able to spend in that budget. Historically, every budget submitted to the mayor and council comes back reduced. With this in mind, I come before you with two requests. First, that you all bring the boldest, most aggressive budget request possible. A request that actually meets the needs of educating our students and compensates all employees in a professional manner. To be honest, my hope is that a submitted budget includes a 10% raise for employees, in the hope of getting a 5% in the reduced budget that we know we're going to get. And I've got council members behind me. I hope they're listening. Love you both. If you don't ask for it, the mayor and council certainly will not volunteer it. Secondly, I ask that you all present a united front when this budget is presented before the Metro Council, in order to send the message that this budget is necessary and will be managed in a fiscally responsible manner. And I'm going to back up what Eric said earlier. I received those phone calls and emails from council members about the divisiveness that they sense coming from this board as being part of the reason why they did not approve the requested budget last year. So I know that that happened. I got those phone calls and emails. My second topic is to ask that you all consider bringing forth a resolution against vouchers similar to the one passed by the Knox County School Board on December 12th. When I submitted my request to speak, I also provided a file with a copy of the language from that resolution to be shared with you tonight, so I hope that you have that before you. We already see how charter schools negatively affect our budget through that particular line item. Vouchers would further impact our state funding in a negative manner. We know that the incoming governor expressed support of vouchers during his campaign and has already begun identifying pro-voucher individuals for his cabinet. I believe that taking a firm stance against vouchers from the beginning, rather than in reaction to potential legislation, will send a strong message to legislators and, hopefully, prevent the matter from even being considered. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak tonight.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, I'm Chris Moth. I'm the PTO parliamentarian at Percy Priest Elementary. Dr. Gentry, I loved how you and Dr. Joseph spoke at Mount Zion Baptist a couple months ago. You urged us to come out and push you and the board and Director Joseph, so here I am. Over the holidays, while others watch Hallmark specials, we parliamentarians binge watch school board meetings. I heard your passion. I saw one of you cry real tears in support of our teachers, and that's great TV, but that emotion doesn't really help our kids. I'm here with friendly parliamentary ideas to transform these great passions into real, visible, and measurable progress for our children. Everybody, please do an annual refresher of Robert's Rules. In your meeting around disposal of property, it was hard to watch you kind of have trouble as you were managing a pretty routine amendment process. Robert's Rules are so boring, but you have $1 billion budget. You need to know those top dozen rules cold so you can do your jobs professionally and efficiently. Please sharpen up. It costs nothing more than a few hours of quiet reading. Visit a charter school board meeting sometime, or even our legislature, to see how they do it. Please reduce soliloquies on personal likes and dislikes. Instead, make motions first. Save arguments for discussion. Ms. Frog complained that the Education Foundation is getting a couple $100,000 of our budget. That's a great problem, and I would, if you were here, I would have said, please make a motion to stop it. Don't just talk about it. When you look back on your service together, your greatest pride is going to come from those times when you overcame political expedience, when you asked tough questions of each other, when you helped Dr. Joseph lead this district forward against the inertia of the status quo. For every one of us here at this microphone, there are thousands whose voices are even more important. The teacher who leaves for another district, the private school parent who nixes your property tax bump, the families who move to Williamson County in droves when you waitlist them on your lottery. To hear those voices, Dr. Joseph assembled an incredible team of citywide leaders like Reverend Dixon, who's here tonight, Barry Barlow, who's here tonight. They created an ambitious transition team report, a slate of powerful recommendations for you to move on. But while you fussed about SUV models and smaller things, honestly, we've gone another year with no action on 30 or so of these ambitious recommendations. Look at the website. Literally a year has gone by since the January 2018 transition update. Let's stop celebrating the 90 great things we've done and start working on the 30 we've not gotten to. What are you waiting for? Dr. Gentry, you said it best last month. Leadership is hard. Leadership requires boldness. Would someone on this board tonight please make a bold, simple motion to request an update to this transition team report? And then would someone else be bold and please have the courage to second that motion? Thank you for the update. Thanks for listening. Happy New Year.
My name is Linda Robinson. I'm here representing NOAA, Passage, and the importance of an updated discipline policy. Dr. Joseph, Board Member Christian Buggs, and the remainder of board members, thank you. Thank you for hearing and acting on our concerns around elementary suspensions, expulsions, and in-school arrests. Dr. Joseph, thank you for your action to end elementary arrests and expulsions, except in the case of 500-level offenses, as well as your requirement for administrative approval before elementary suspension. This work will help keep all of our kids in school and off the school-to-prison pipeline. The work of NOAA and Passage is intentional. Our work began with our concern around racial disparities in school discipline. We want to ensure that all students can find safe passage from early childhood to young adulthood. What we do know is that harsh discipline models such as suspension, expulsion, and in-school arrest can and does impose a serious roadblock on the path to success. We also know that there are vastly more elementary suspensions, expulsions, and arrests among students of color. Data supports that the groups affected disproportionately by harsh discipline models are, first, Black boys, Black girls, Hispanic boys, and Hispanic girls. Blacks represent about 44% of the district's elementary school population, but Black elementary school students account for a full 75% of suspensions and expulsions, nearly 3 times that of their white classmates. So why do we need an updated elementary discipline policy? Suspended and expelled students are twice as likely to drop out because this triples their chances of contact with the juvenile justice system. Unfortunately, in far too many cases, suspensions plus juvenile justice equals dropouts and prison. NOAA and Passage have and are continuing to partner with MNPS at the highest levels, as well as the Mayor's Office and Metro Council, to identify and advocate for necessary funding to support SEL changes within the district. We believe, and data supports, that social-emotional learning and restorative practice approaches to school discipline are far more effective than random suspensions and expulsions from school. We know that social-emotional learning initiatives done the right way with proper resources, training, and support changes the school environment and consequently our students' lives. Again, I say to you, Dr. Joseph, MNPS administrative staff, and the board, thank you for the work that you have done. We asked you to continue the work, do the heavy lifting with the help of the community to bring the elementary discipline policy across the finish line for the 2019-2020 school year.
Thank you.
We ask you to do what's right for all students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Joseph, and other members of the board. I'm Beth Cruz. I'm the team leader of the Education Rights Project at the Public Defender's Office. We provide education advocacy for students with disabilities in Metro schools who are at risk of or involved in the juvenile justice system. I'm also the proud parent of 2 Metro students, including 1 kindergartner, and a member of Passage. The last time I appeared before the board, I shared the story of 3 young brothers, ages 5, 6, and 7 years old, who were zip-tied and transported to juvenile detention. They were arrested for disorderly conduct and expelled for a calendar year. Unfortunately, their story was not unique. Just last year, I represented 2 middle school children arrested in their 4th grade year and a 7-year-old first grader who had experienced arrest. One of the most joyful moments I've had in my 9 years serving as an education attorney came calling those parents and letting them know that elementary school students, like their babies, would no longer face expulsion or arrest, except in the case of 500-level offenses. Members of the board, particularly Board Member Buggs, thank you for hearing Passage's concern about elementary arrests, expulsions, and suspensions. Thank you, Dr. Joseph, for your bold memorandum ending those arrests and expulsions except in 500-level offenses. Passage started this work because of our concern with disparity, but it was the harm that's caused to students by suspension, expulsion, and arrest that has propelled us forward. Thank you for ending that harm with regard to expulsion and arrest. We ask you, though, to continue this excellent work and limit suspensions for elementary students to the most egregious offenses. Last year, over 1,750 suspensions were issued to elementary students, the majority of which were for non-violent offenses. At that rate, around 10 elementary children face suspension per school day. And we know there's no research to show that suspensions actually help us increase safety or decrease misbehavior, rather that they actually increase misbehavior and, as you heard from Linda, increase involvement in the criminal justice system. We also know about the harm to academic achievement and risk for dropout caused by suspension. And research tells us that even non-suspended students suffer when they see their peers suspended around them, in academics. It's their math and reading scores that suffer in those high suspending schools. To foster academic growth in the district, we must also support with our excellent research-based programs in the district that we already have and others that we need to foster and grow the social, emotional, and behavioral needs of our children. We applaud the district for reducing suspensions and for recognizing that too many students are being suspended and ask you to finish the work around elementary suspension. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Good evening.
Dr. Joseph and the remaining members of the school board.
Interesting how that happens.
Here we are. I'm here speaking to you all for a couple of different reasons. First, as a citizen of Nashville, Tennessee, I want our school system to be the best school system in the nation. Secondly, I'm speaking to you as the juvenile court judge, as the person who sees the difficulties of our youth and sees every day that school to prison pipeline in action. But most importantly, I'm coming to you as a parent of a Metro student, a student because of his race and because of his gender is one that easily could be trapped in that prison to school, that school to prison pipeline. I want to first say thank you, Dr. Joseph. Thank you for the programs and your support for all of our students, not just a few, but for all of our students. I want to thank you for your leadership in working to change the climate of Metro schools. I've been the juvenile court judge for 4 years. I only have 125 employees, and changing the climate from punitive to restorative and rehabilitative has been a task, and I know the task that you have in front of you. But I want to thank you also for your leadership in leading the way to stop the suspensions and the arrest in elementary schools. Thank you for your memorandum. Thank you for your directive to how the schools should act at this point. And I also want to thank you for leading the way for social emotional learning and supporting our teachers, our principals in the best ways that you can. I hope that the Metro Council will do their part as well and support the funding to make sure that we have social emotional leaders, social emotional learning, training people in each and every school of our district. I want to say that I am grateful for the partnerships that have been willing to sit down at the table and have these difficult conversations and handle complex issues as adults who care about our youth. So I thank you, Dr. Joseph. I thank you for your team, Dr. Majors, and all of those who have been part of Passage and have been working with us. I want to thank the Metro Police Department, particularly Sergeant Proctor, for his involvement in it as well. And of course, Passages, Noah, and all of those who have come, Oasis Center, Tom Ward, and particularly the Mobile Crisis, who has stepped up and said, don't call the police, call us instead. So for the good news, I want to let you know that in this time period from the semester of the same fall semester, we are down 73% arrest from this time. I get 2 seconds, 2 seconds. We are down from 50. We are down from 59 children being arrested to 16. We've done a lot. We have a whole lot more to do because that 16 could be the ones that end up in front of me and in the prison, in the prison system. Thank you.
Thank you.
To Dr. Gentry, the chair lady of this board, I am Sonny Dixon. I am here tonight, and I was supposed to be representing the executive committee of the Interdenominational Ministers Fellowship. But after seeing something in the paper this morning, I needed to come and clarify something for myself. It said in the paper I was coming tonight as a supporter of Dr. Joseph. For 45 years, I have supported every director in this district and have worked with every director in this district. I've been a part of the last 2 search committees asked each of the applicants that came in, that when they came in, I said, if you get the job, you can count on Sonny Dixon being supportive. I'm here for 45 years. I've been coming to this board and monitoring and working with you all, except for you new members. Each one of you, I have sat down, broke bread with you, and talked with you to try to figure out how do we make things better. I even sat down and broke bread with Murray Phillips, and Lord knows if anybody got a difference of opinion in how we get to things, it was Murray and I. But because of my commitment to this school and to this district and to the students who are in it, we got 85,000 kids who are counting on you all. How can we expect? My judge, I keep telling her I want to have more children so they can go to juvenile court because of her. How can we expect our children to know how to act when they don't see you knowing how to act? How can the 10,000 employees expect for there to be respect amongst one another if they can't see the people of whom they turn to respecting one another? I have done everything I can. 45 years ago, I wanted these issues to be resolved so that at some point my children and my grandchildren would come through this district and be beneficial. I even worked with this man, Chris Henson, as superintendent, because I believe in our children. You all have got to put all of this petty stuff aside. You all have got to focus on the people who are looking to you. I'm tired of you listening to you all talk about, we got one employee and we got one responsibility. No, you have 88,000 responsibilities. You've got 10,000 people who are looking to you to help them in their vision. I don't care what you do. You can fire this man tonight. But if you all don't have a clear vision of where you want and the expectations you have for this system, it doesn't matter who you bring in. You as a board, we are looking to you all to do your job. Quit talking about what we're not doing, and you all start doing what you all are supposed to be doing.
Good evening.
So let me clarify before this turns into a Twitter war. Councilmatic courtesy. I appreciate you all being here. I'm coming to your council meeting. I don't know what I'm gonna say, but I'm coming for something. Go ahead.
Does that mean we have 9 minutes as 3 of us?
You got 3 minutes.
Nice try.
So introduce those lovely ladies and sit
I
down.
want to introduce, this is Brenda Haywood, who is a council person with which district?
Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, that's 3. Yeah. And Sharon Hurt, who is a council person at large. You know, I spoke to a group on Saturday, and I wrote out some stuff because I learned to write down what I'm going to say now because people will say you said something you didn't say. But I spoke to this group Saturday, and, you know, my favorite spiritual song is I Won't Complain. Well, my house burned in December. I played the song over and over, and I didn't complain. I went in the hospital with pneumonia and stayed 3 days. Got out, played the song, I didn't complain. Started watching you on the school board, watching the school board. I played it and played it, but I'm here to complain. and to encourage you as well. And I guess I'm a little depressed now, or disappointed, that I noticed that you went from 8 to 6. Oh, really? You went from 8 to 5. Mm-hmm. And I don't quite understand that. But I do know there's a mic in the back because I spent 27 years back there, so I know everybody can hear what I've got to say. You know, a lot of people know that I certainly support Dr. Joseph. I was on this board for over 27 years, and I always thought it was time that we had an African-American director of the schools after 150 years. And it's not because he's African-American, it's because he's a qualified person, because he's a qualified director. So I'm not here to support him as a black man. I'm here to support him as director of the schools, Metropolitan Nashville schools. And he should be treated equally as all other directors have been treated. I'm sorry, I got another. Oh, it was Taneka Virtue, who's also a council person in the Antioch area. But he should be treated equally. And I say that because in those 27 years, I saw other directors with SUVs. I saw other directors who had people to drive them, especially if they were new to this city. I mean, it would be ridiculous to pay a man the salary that we're paying Dr. Joseph to ask him to drive around this town and get lost when he can be working. I saw the school board demonstration a couple of weeks ago, and with the kind of venomous rhetoric that I heard, we might need to hire Dr. Joseph a bodyguard. But at any rate, I'm here, as I said, to also encourage, because you have done a lot of great things. I think there's a sheet out here tonight showing the accomplishments, and you got a lot to do. And Ms. Buggs, I think you hit it on the nose, but you've got to do it with respect. This rudeness that I see. I've seen people ask Dr. Joseph a question, then turn around and call him a lie when he answers it. I've seen other board members call each other names. That is not professional. It's rude, and I guarantee you, us as council people, we have to fight to try to get you money, and it makes it even harder for us to convince this community that you're doing the job for the children in this community that you need to do when they see that kind of behavior. So I'm asking you, I'm begging you, cut it out. You know, stop I know people in the back, you can hear me too. I'm talking to you too.
Yeah, this is our second time down here.
This is our second time down here? Well, we'll keep coming. But I encourage you to support the director. Give him the same chance we gave every other director in this system. And allow him, you've got a tool called an evaluation tool. And I'm sure you can use that at the appropriate time. If it proves that Dr. Joseph is not doing the job, then you know what to do. But right now, to continue this bickering, these unfounded insinuations that you're making, some of you, I'm not talking to everybody. I think everybody knows who I'm talking to. It's got to stop. And I'm asking you, I'm begging you, pleading to you, focus on the children, focus on what your job is, and do it. Thank you.
So we're moving into to governance issues. Ms. Buggs.
The consent agenda is as read. Number 1A, recommended approval of request to purchase stadium grandstands for Maplewood High School Stadium, Toadvine Enterprises. 1B, recommended award of contract for professional services, district-wide architectural services, Artifice LLC. 1C, recommended approval of request number 30 to purchase classroom furniture, Antioch High School Classroom Editions, GBI Inc. 1D, recommended approval of request number 1 for small scope projects at various schools, Amqui Elementary School Structural Repairs, Bomar Construction Company. 1E, recommended approval of request number 2 for small scope projects at various schools, Gower Elementary School Structural Repairs, Bomar Construction Company. 1F, recommended approval of request number 1 for purchase of Tennessee Court resurfacing, Overton High School Tennis Court renovations, Hellas Construction, Inc. 1G, recommended approval of supplement number 5 for Overton High School additions and renovations, TM Partners PLLC. 1H, recommended approval of change order number 2 for Hillsborough High School additions and renovations, American Constructors, Inc. 1I, recommended approval of change order number 7 for Overton High School additions and renovations, American Constructors, Inc. 1J, recommended approval of change order number 7 for Martin Luther King Jr. Magnet School additions and renovations, American Constructors, Inc. 1K, recommended approval of request number 1 for purchase of new signal upgrade, Hillsborough High School additions and renovations, Stansel Electric Company, Inc. 1L, recommended award of contract for construction management and general contracting services, security vestibules at various schools, Orion Building Corporation. 1M, recommended award of contract for architectural services, Goodlettsville Middle School additions and renovations, Artifice LLC. 1N, awarding of purchases and contracts, 1, Barnes & Noble, 2, Belmont University, 3, CDW Government with the 3 contracts, 4, College Board with 2 contracts, 6, Dell Marketing LP with 2 contracts, 8, International Baccalaureate Organization, IBO, 9, Jarrett Builders, Inc., 11, Lipscomb University, 13, Maury Fence Company of Tennessee, Inc., 14, Pratters, Inc., with 2 contracts, 15, President and Fellows of Harvard College, acting through the Harvard Graduate School of Education and the Center for Education Policy Research, 16, POSIP LLC, 17, Unico Technology, 18, Wasco, Inc. 1O, Class Letter of Agreement. Number 2, Connexion Americas. 3, 4 Point Education Partners. 4, Learning Forward. 5, Martha O'Brien. I'm sorry.
Stop. No.
Roll back. Just act like I did not read numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5. The only thing on the consent agenda falls under number 1, letters A through N. My apologies.
Through O.
It's been a rough day, but yes, A through O.
Okay, so can I have a motion?
I move to accept the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Okay, so just to be clear, you're voting on items under consent, 1A through letter O. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Pinkston.
Somebody come to the microphone and speak to this 1N16 POSIT LLC, what it is, how much it's for. I don't have the entire packet in front of me.
POSIP is for the Schools of Innovation. POSIP provides a parent engagement text-based survey every Friday for our parents in all of our Schools of Innovation. So it does almost like a robocall, but it does a survey about parent efficacy in the schools. It meets our criteria to make sure we're engaging our parents on a regular basis. Then we take those monthly POSIP results, they aggregate those for us in data reports, and we meet and support our principals in problem-solving ways to engage parents more regularly in their school base.
How much is the contract?
Okay, so the contract is not to exceed $37,000 for 27 schools, and it is increasing for 5,300.
Madam Chair, my understanding is this is a tech startup that's founded by Shani Dow, who routinely gets involved in school board races year after year. If I had seen it sooner, I would have pulled it off the consent agenda. So as it stands, I'm just going to vote against the entire consent agenda based on my objection to this contract. We should, under no circumstances, be dealing with vendors who turn around and get involved in school board races and try to upend the governance structure. So that's just my personal opinion to anybody who's out there making decisions around contracts, and that's my personal belief. Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor for approval of the agenda as read. iPads, please. Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. Item number 2, Connexion Americas. Can I get a motion?
I move that we approve the contract with Connexion Americas.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If we have anyone from the central office that can be prepared to speak to that if there are any questions. So we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion? something you'd like to say?
I'm okay. Thanks.
All right. So, we're good? All right, so all in favor of approval of the contract for Conexion Americas? We're going to take it on your iPads, please.
Yeah.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Item number 3, for 4 Point Education Partners, can I get a motion? Mr. Pinkston?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this contract with 4 Point Education Partners.
I'll second it.
Second from Ms. Shepherd. Mr. Pinkston, would you like to make any comments?
Yeah, Madam Chair, this is really an extension of a pre-existing contract we had with 4 Point Education Partners to assist us in the design of the Director Evaluation System, as well as a board self-assessment, and provide all of the accompanying analytics, which are considerable, around both of those tasks. So with that, I renew my motion.
Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments? Ms. Froh. Mrs. Froh, I apologize.
I just want to renew my concerns about this contract, and it really has to do with the cost. And first of all, I will say that I voted for this contract last year. I tried to help develop a board assessment and a director's evaluation, and we failed miserably at it. I think we went through several iterations. So I was in favor of doing this last year. I was concerned about the cost, which I believe was $25,000. This year, it's now up to, and I don't have it in front of me, I believe $40,000+. And I talked to the TSBA attorney about this, and the attorney, when I mentioned the cost, burst out laughing and said, no one is paying for an evaluation. We can give you one for free. If we were to facilitate a board retreat about this, it would cost $1,500 a day. And I just think this is too much money to be spending on this program. I know we're now once again in a bind because we are now planning to use them at a board retreat on the 18th. And I think that's unfortunate, but I just can't justify spending this much money on this evaluation process when it's gone way up and it was already developed last year. I think, and this is in part my fault because I was not aware of all the services that TSBA offers, but I don't think that we have availed ourselves of those services. And I'm happy that we have a good evaluation tool now, but I just can't support spending this much money on evaluation.
Thank you. Mrs. Bush.
When we spoke about this, Amy and I, we raised the same questions and concerns about the amount of money that we're spending on a template that's already been created. And the amount of money of spending $40,000 plus on something that's already been created is absurd. I know you guys are going to pass it through, but I want to make sure that I made my comments on the board floor that I did not agree with this kind of money, and I was supposed to receive at that meeting. I requested to get the last contract so that I can be able to review that, and yet I didn't receive it. This is another example of how we spend money, how we mismanage our money, and we are an underfunded school district. So I do not support this, even though it's going to go through anyway. And then, of course, on our self-evaluation, it was a Survey Monkey. I was really shocked to see that we actually took this self-assessment through Survey Monkey, which is a free app. And to spend this kind of money, I was really shocked. And it had misspelled words in it. So I just wanted to make sure I made this comment on the board floor, and this is one of the reasons why I do not agree with these type of contracts. That's it.
So I've realized over the past at least year that many community members are just not as privy to some of the conversations we've had up here. So to give you all some background, 4 Point Education Partners is helping us develop a board self-assessment as well as a evaluation for the director of schools. Considering that is 1/3 of our job, we thought it might be beneficial to reach out to a third party. Mr. Pinkston, Ms. Gentry and then even Ms. Shepard have been part of this kind of research to find an organization that could give us a really robust template that could help us to organize our thoughts and make sure that everything is aligned. Because what we were hearing from board members when I first got on the board in 2016 is that past evaluations were either not very rigorous or robust, or they were very time-consuming and very subjective. You could pretty much say, well, I didn't like the director doing this one thing, so I'm going to score him low. We wanted to make sure that that entire year that we spent strategically planning and looking at the transition report that has 120 plus action items and the 3 KPIs that we are focusing on this year, that we align that strategy and all that planning with what we evaluate him and us on. So we had some board members suggest that there has been some impropriety, so we thought like I said, we thought it beneficial to reach out to a third party. This is that third party. Now, if you've seen the kind of data that comes from 85,000 students, 11,000 employees, 168 schools, you might agree that we need someone that has the capacity and bandwidth to do this in, again, a very robust way, to make sure that it is both objective, that we receive it in a timely manner, and to make sure that we have action items associated with it. So we've talked about this in board retreats. I'll be the first to say that there was one board retreat that I couldn't make because I was sick as a dog, so I had to call in. I also had a baby last year, so there have definitely been meetings that I've missed, so I understand when people cannot be at every meeting. But we do continue to have conversations about this, and considering the floating narrative that is out in the community, I, for one, am in favor of us going forward with 4-point education partners, because they will give us an evaluation that we can then turn to the community and say, I understand that these are your concerns, but these are the reasons why we have scored our director in this way. This is how we are overseeing him. This is how we are managing our 168 schools, our 85,000 students, and our 11,000 employees.
Is that right?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to make sure that we have an understanding that it has gone up in price, but that is partially because we are receiving an additional evaluation that we did not receive last year. Last year, we only did the self-evaluation, and I am going to speak on behalf of the board, though I was not on the board at that time. We only did a self-evaluation, and we did a summative. So part of the reason why this contract has gone up in an increase is because of the additional need for a formative evaluation. Is this correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Part of the reason.
Part of the reason, sure. And then additionally, I would like to also say that I am in support of us having an outside source to provide a transparent and accurate representation of what we are supposed to do as part of our majority of responsibilities. Additionally, I understand that in evaluation that you are paying for a lot of professional experience on what those questions entail and what is the actual facts that we are looking for. Therefore, I am not as bothered by the provider of SurveyMonkey, but I am more concerned and happy with the process of the amount of questions and types of questions we had. So, yes.
Kingston?
Yeah, I'll just add, this contract is 0.004% of our annual operating budget to help the 9-member board with technical assistance to do arguably what's our most important job. Further add that this was developed collaboratively with Dr. Joseph and his team. It was a very rewarding process, actually, the most rewarding process I've been through since I joined the board in 2012. This evaluation system has been recognized by the Council of the Great City Schools as one of the most rigorous and comprehensive urban school system evaluations in America. And most of what you're paying for, as with any professional services contract, as Ms. Elrod suggested, is time. And out of the self-evaluation, the formative evaluation, the summative evaluation, out of all that comes hundreds of pages of analytics that help us navigate toward a better place for the school system. So it's a very, very minimal expense for what's, I wouldn't even say arguably, what is the most robust evaluation that's ever been conducted in the history of the Metro Nashville Public School System. So renew my motion for approval. Thank you.
With one more comment, Ms. Walker?
Ms. Bush had her hand up.
Thank you.
I know she did, but she's already spoken once, so we'll go to you, and then we'll come back to Ms. Bush.
I will say that in this particular climate that we're operating in right now, for us to have a really strong tool from which to operate, to make decisions, to guide conversations, to really look at evidence and data and provide meaningful feedback to Dr. Joseph and his team, for me, that requires people with that type of expertise. And I was deeply impressed with Mr. Joftis when I met with him a few weeks ago, and I feel like this is the right team for this job. I think there's nothing more important right now than getting this conversation right and being transparent in this process. And so I fully support this contract. I think it's worth every penny.
Mrs. Bush?
I'm not opposed to having an evaluation template or process in place. My problem is, again, it goes back to the amount of money that we're spending when we're underfunded. I don't care if we're a 0.12 fraction of our budget. We have schools that are underfunded. Money like this can go towards the schools. It can go towards supplies, the things that teachers need. And once again, it just shows us another example of how we misspend our money. We are not living within our means. Again, this is the kind of money that should not be spent. Amy just made this statement that this could have been a lot cheaper done. And again, this is all about plugging and chugging. After you create a template, anybody in here that is in IT will know that that's what you do. Once a template is created, then all you have to do is plug and chug. And when I got a chance to look at the evaluation, the director's evaluation, the questions were not even up to 20 questions. Just like on the Survey Monkey, I think it was 16. Most of the data that's inside the evaluation will come from comments. So again, you're going to pass it through, but I want to make sure that I am clear on this board floor that I am not going to continue to support these kind of contracts when we have schools that are underfunded.
Thank you, Mrs. Bush.
I would love to take this time first to. Oh no, I didn't realize you had your hand up. You can go ahead and go ahead.
Actually, you asked first. But.
Many community members do not understand or realize that you all are welcome to come to our meetings. That means budget committee meetings, governance committee meetings, directors evaluation committee meetings. In our budget, we have line items that show just how much the school board has allocated to ourselves to use for many different things, including the director's evaluation. So we've already allotted. There's already an allotment of funding that goes to the school board for us to use in discretionary ways. And at a future a future budget meeting, it might behoove us to maybe look at that. So to see if any board members have questions, if they haven't had a chance to look at past budgets, to really understand what is under our purview. I just want to make that clear that there is a budget for this already, and it has already been allocated to us.
So I just want to say we worked with the Tennessee School Board Association last year on redeveloping all of our policies, and it was a very lengthy, rigorous process. They obviously have the experience. They obviously are able to do this work. They pretty much handle all the school boards' evaluations throughout the whole state. And again, nobody's paying this. No one's paying for these evaluations. And we do have a process in place. I think, I still have questions about how much we spent on it, but that is done. But we can move on here for free and get TSBA, which is an independent organization, which is capable of conducting a robust discussion and help us with this development of this with the next steps on our evaluations. We can do that. And then also, I just want to say, everybody keeps saying we only have 3 jobs. That was based on our old policy governance model. We actually have now changed all of our policies. We have more than just 3 jobs. I think this is clearly a very important job, but I just wanted to make that point, and that's all.
Mr. Pinkston?
Mr. Henson, how much do we pay TSBA in dues annually?
I don't have that on the top of my head, but I can get that to you.
About 30,000.
Maybe a little less than that.
Yeah. Point is, TSBA is not free, so.
But it wouldn't cost us any more for this. I mean, it will not cost us any more for this contract because we have already paid them for our evaluation.
So I'm going to call for the question, but I do want to just add one thing, and I'm glad Mrs. Frobe did remind us that we do have more than just 3 responsibilities in the new board policy, and I believe that item number 4 is promotion. Right? Isn't it like, I think item number 4 in the new board policy under board role responsibilities is actually promoting the good work. Promoting the good work. Promoting the good work of the district. So I think it was mentioned earlier that you all received handouts of those. So I want to make sure if you didn't get a copy, see, David, raise your hand. Mark, raise your hand. One of these guys here at the front, and you can get a copy of that sheet. So thank you for that reminder as well. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Can we get the vote ready on the monitor, please? Ready? All right, it is approved. Item number 4, learning forward. Can I get a motion, please?
I move.
We have a motion to approve the learning forward contract.
Second.
Now we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, ready for the vote? Oh, Ms. Froh?
Before we vote, I just want to point out that Dr. Joseph is on the board of this organization, and I think it is important that we not blur the line between our professional and our relationships and the board work, and so I have concerns about this particular contract.
You have concerns about the contract or the relationship?
Why we are offering this contract.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so I'll just add to this, and then I think I mentioned it earlier with Dr. Felder's engagement, and I see in the audience we have several corporate-minded folk that have been involved before. Every one of the leadership team at the company that I work with serves on a board. Every one of those boards, my company, gives money to. Some of them are nonprofit, some of them are not. But all that being aside, I think what it says about the leadership that we have in this district is that there are national organizations that respect the level of expertise that you all bring. So I've said it once before, and I just want to reiterate that I consider it a feather in our cap when someone reaches out to a member of my leadership team here in MNPS and asks for their expertise to move the national and international level work forward that they're doing. We sign non-disclosure, conflict of interest statements with the state. I know every administrator and every employee here within the district registers a conflict of interest, fills out a conflict of interest form to give full transparency and disclosure regarding any organizations that they have any affiliation with whatsoever. So this is not an attempt to slide anybody any extra money. This is not an attempt to do anything but to leverage some expertise out there that we now have first-hand knowledge that there may be some benefit to the district for. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Are ready for the vote. What is the Martha Bryan thing again? We're still asking about Martha Bryan.
Yeah,
Martha Bryan specifically.
they're a portion of the Kira.
Yeah. Okay, the motion passes. Our final item under awards and whatever this is, contracts, is the Martha O'Brien Center. Can I get a motion? May I have a motion?
I motion.
You motion?
Move.
You moving?
Look,
You're
sis,
motioning?
I move.
All right,
To
come on.
accept the contract. Just go.
All right. Can I get a second? May I have a second? Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second from Martha O'Brien. Comments? Mr. Pinkston.
Yeah, for the same reason I voted against the consent agenda, because of the one contract is the reason I'm not going to vote in favor of this one. This is an organization run by an individual who routinely tries to insert herself and her organization into our governance politics at the ballot box. So For the same reason, I think it's a bad idea to contract with any vendor who's attempting to interfere in the governance structure of the school board. I think it's a bad idea for us to do business with this organization, so I'm not for it. Thank you.
Ms. Buggs?
Again, I want to provide for the viewing public and for those in the audience, we are looking at a federal grant that a few different organizations around the city wrote or submitted to work with Gear Up, a federal program that provides college prep instruction and resources in some of our neediest schools, our middle and high schools. I respectfully will disagree with my colleague only because I've seen the great work that Gear Up does and would hate to see it halted because of its because of who it flows through. I also want to remind us that Martha O'Brien has pledged $350,000 in matching funds to us, that those resources could be so very beneficial in schools like Stratford where they are housed every day. I did reach out to the principal at Stratford, and he was very adamant that he appreciates all the ways that Martha O'Brien and those who volunteer or work with him, how they support their students at Stratford. He appreciates Gear Up and in their top floor. The top floor is something that they use for their seniors, just getting ready for college and being career ready. And to speak to my colleague, Mrs. Frog, she asked us just maybe an hour ago to not make decisions based on politics, and I would just ask that we consider Gear Up. Now, we can have a larger conversation later or at some point in the future, but I really want Gear Up to get this contract.
Mrs. Bush?
Yeah, my same position like it was last time. We talked about Martha O'Brien. Martha O'Brien is up on the top floor of Stratford High School. I would have loved for Martha O'Brien to prove themselves and we have better student outcome. We do not have better student outcome, and the students are not college and career ready, and they are at a 16 on the ACT. They also provide ACT prep for our students on the top floor at Stratford High School, and yet they have gone down, not up on their ACT scores, but down. So this particular organization is supposed to provide the utmost prep sessions for these students, and yet they are not moving because most of the time with these type of dollars that we're giving, like Gear Up and Martha O'Brien, it's going toward mostly their salaries. They have high-paying salaries, and this is what we pay for. We're not paying for student outcome. We're not paying for student success. We are constantly pushing dollars into these organizations that are not producing outcome. And if you can prove anything different to me, because according to the Department of Education, this is what we're looking at. So what I'm speaking on, I do my research on. So I've said the same thing, and my same positions on this floor about this particular item, is that they're not producing, and this is how they're being paid, and this is how they cover their salaries. These are high-paying salary positions, and it's not about student outcome because there's no proof of it. There's no type of data that supports it. So again, this is my position about Martha O'Brien.
Ms. Elrod?
Pass.
Ms. Walker?
I will say that Gear Up is a really, really essential opportunity for Metro schools. We just completed a Gear Up cycle of 7 years, and it is a really unique opportunity for us to follow a cohort of 2 grade levels of students, starting with 6th and 7th graders, all the way through until they graduate. And the work that is done through Gear Up, because it's a federal grant, there's a lot of compliance, a lot of data. There's a lot of expectation on delivery of service. It is not. So I will say, yes, my organization will received a Gear Up contract tonight, but the expectation is that we are deeply embedded in these schools with these families, with these students for 7 years. And so we can talk about the political orientation of Martha O'Brien, but I do believe that they have the skills, the history, the relationships in the community to deliver on this contract. And so I'm in favor of us having really strong partners at the table to make sure Gear Up is successful. I think we need all the help we can get in our schools to make sure our kids are college ready. And the whole philosophy of Gear Up is to create a college-going culture in these schools. And so I think it's a worthwhile effort. I think that that they have skin in the game. and I think it's a good opportunity for our families.
Thank you, Dr. Gentry. So, two things. One, thank you very much, Ms. Bush, for allowing us the opportunity to refocus so that we are having student-focused convos. I completely understand that some of these conversations may begin with adults, i.e. Martha O'Brien, but I want them to end with students. And the student portion of this conversation is around Gear Up. And I appreciate you requesting data because I just so happen to have some here from the principal at Stratford, Dr. Mike Steele. And I know we would never want to suggest that a principal is lying to us about data. But he says that 3,570 students have participated in the Academic Student Union on the top floor since 2010. Since 2010. 97% of the ASU seniors have graduated on time. That's 1,680 out of the 1,724. 80.6% of the ASU graduates have been accepted to college. That's 1,354 out of the 1,680. ASU students have received over $62.3 million in grants and scholarships. Stratford's college enrollment has increased 96% from 30.4% to 59.6%. We acknowledge that we still have work to do, but I appreciate that they have already done work, made gains, and have data presented from a principal to prove that. This is the largest increase of all MNPS schools since 2010 when the top floor opened. Maplewood's college enrollment rate has increased 35% from 37.2% to 50.2%. This is the largest increase of all MNPS schools since 2013 when the college zone began. 407 ASU graduates were enrolled in post-secondary education in 2017-2018 school year. So again, I appreciate that we're having these big, robust conversations. I want to make sure that they're student-focused because, again, for the viewing public to make sure you all understand, because it is a little nuanced, you have Martha O'Brien that was part of a bigger conglomerate that wrote a federal grant. They will be helping to resource Gear Up in our schools that need extra resources, more personnel, or just the added expertise. Gear Up is really what we're fighting for as it flows through Martha O'Brien. Again, I understand that that in any conversation we will be inadvertently talking about adults, but as long as we claim to be student-focused, I do know, because I worked for TRIO programs, which is also a federally funded grant, I understand how important we are in those schools when we are used and when we work collaboratively. We also have Pearl Cohn's principal here. The counselors reached out to us telling us how great Gear Up is for them, so that is another presentation that could be Mrs. Miriam Harrington.
Mrs. Harrington, do you have anything you would like to add to these comments?
My district stays ready. That's why I love y'all. Go ahead, Pearl Cohn.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Miriam Harrington. I am the principal of Pearl Cohn High School, where we live in excellence. With me are my assistant principal, Dr. Sanders, and college career counselor, Deborah Osborne. This is my first year as the principal of Pearl Cohn. As with any principal entering a new school, it is my responsibility to evaluate and assess current programs within the school. I must decide if these programs are meeting the needs of the students, school, and yield positive and impactful outcomes. Gear Up is one of the programs offered at Pearl Cohn in which I needed to assess. As I began to review its impact on the school, I made a few discoveries. The first was that Gear Up is not just a program that offers ACT preparation. Gear Up offers support to all of our senior students, in addition to the students they have followed from middle school into high school. In my research of this program, I also discovered that all of the students in the graduating class of 2018 were able to tour and receive college visits outside of the Nashville area. To date, 95 of this year's graduating class have gone to schools in which they would be eligible under the Hope Scholarship. As I continued to evaluate this program and its effectiveness, I also discovered that in last year's Gear Up cohort, which consisted of 35 students. All were accepted and are attending college today. Moreover, Gear Up follows kids through the completion of their freshman year in college, the most important year for a first-time college student. Furthermore, a recent result from the April to October ACT assessments yielded the following results. The students performing in the ACT band of 18 to 20 scores grew from 5% in April to 14% in October. ACT bands of 21 or higher grew from 0.8% to 4%, with one of our seniors receiving a 30 on her ACT in October. I failed to mention that Gear Up funds my college and career counselor, which I am unable to do with the current student-based budgeting calculation for Title I schools. As we know, providing students in poverty with opportunities and experiences that they would not otherwise receive increases their chances in being successful. The evidence of Gear Up's impact at Pearl-Cohn from my research of last year's and this year's cohort has demonstrated success. To speak further of Gear Up's impact, I would like to introduce Ms. Osborne, my career and college counselor, and Dr. Sanders will provide you with data.
I think the most important thing that I want to mention that Gear Up has done is our counseling team is fairly small, or fairly large given the number of students that we have, but ASCA, the American School Counseling Association, recommends that for a high needs population, the ratio should be 1 to 100. We're 1 to 250, which is great for our district, but still sometimes gets in the way of meeting all of our students' needs. What Gear Up has done is it's allowed us to have a person in our building to help students transition from high school to college. But more than that, it's helped create a college-going culture so students know what to expect along the way. I think that we are a great counseling team. I know our capacity, and I think that we'd be able to manage these things without Gear Up. But what I know for sure is that our students deserve every opportunity that's available to all students across the nation, and Gear Up helps us get there. They deserve the world, and without Gear Up, I'm not sure that we'd be able to give it to them.
I just want to add one thing. The handout that we passed to everyone, not only are students affected positively by Gear Up, but parents are too. You'll see in there how we hold parent workshops. Parents are invited in. We're educating communities. And the effect that we've seen, and I've been at Pearl-Cohn for 7 years, is not only do our students have a college-going culture, but our parents do as well. Our parents are asking questions. They're coming in and helping other parents. We are seeing multi-generational impact right now. And that's the best argument that we can have, is that if we are truly outreaching to communities, we are changing communities. Gear Up has done it.
Thank you.
So, I want to be clear. This conversation was not supposed to be a referendum on Gear Up. Several of us voted for all the other Gear Up contracts previously. This is a discussion about one delivery mechanism, which is the Martha O'Brien Center, which is a political organization. It would be like us hiring the Republican Party or the Democratic Party to provide services. And Dr. Joseph, it'd be further like you or your chiefs going out and hiring somebody who literally had it in for you, personally and professionally. So I think it's not healthy to hire vendors who interfere in school board elections and interfere in our governance structure. Martha O'Brien is such a vendor, but I completely support Gear Up, the mission, the objectives. It's just this one service provider who has demonstrated that it's a bad actor. So I just wanted to make that on the record. Thank you.
I appreciate that. All right, we'll have the vote up, please. Okay, it passes. All right. Thank you, guys. Director's update. You still got something to say?
Okay.
Okay, well, welcome to 2019. We start this year full of both hope and optimism because we've accomplished a great deal over the course of the past 2.5 years. We met with our leadership team today, and it was our first meeting of 2019. And we took a moment to talk about the work that has been accomplished over the course of these past 2.5 years. And we discussed first how we established a transition team, which was talked about tonight, which identified 121 recommendations to improve the school system. And 91 of those 121 recommendations were completed within the first year of work. At a recent board retreat, new priorities were identified to be addressed in this school year, and I'm going to talk to those a little later as we come through, because we have used that transition team to really guide the work that we're doing and keep us focused as an organization.
So Barry Barlow, if you're still in here, or whoever sees Chris Moth, this is what he was talking about, an update on the transition team work. Okay, go ahead.
So from that transition team report, this board, in a true spirit of collaboration, developed a strategic plan for the district with clear accountability measures and a new evaluation tool for the director. Michael Casterly, as was discussed earlier, the executive director of the Council of Great City Schools, deemed our new evaluation tool as one of the most rigorous in America. We laughed at the fact that most school districts shy away from accountability, but we have embraced it because our children deserve to be in a school system where people are not afraid to push themselves to new heights of excellence. With a new strategic plan in hand, we went about addressing all of the transition team recommendations related to increasing student achievement. All of them were completed within the first year, and which resulted in our ensuring that all elementary and middle schools had access to gifted and talented services by creating the advanced academic resource teacher position and ensuring these schools had at least a part-time person serving their students. We boldly declared that poverty would not keep students in Metro Nashville Public Schools from earning AP, IB, dual enrollment, or industry certification credits. So you agreed to allow us to pay for all AP exams, IB exams, dual enrollment courses, and industry certification exams for all students enrolled in those courses. In that first year of our work together, we were able to affirm employees and their hard work by collaborating with the city to give employees a 3% raise and a step increase, which at the time was one of the largest increases employees had had in some years. We also have increased pay for paraprofessionals and substitute teachers. To continue to provide exciting programming at the elementary level, we went after and secured $24 million in federal dollars to support the creation of 5 new elementary magnet schools and to provide more social emotional support to our pre-K students. You charged our team to be much more collaborative with our unions, and I'm proud to see many of our union representatives and leadership here today because we, in a spirit of collaboration, developed memorandums of understanding with all of our unions, and we've begun the hard work of implementing them to help our employees feel valued, not just by our words, but through our contract language and our actions. In that same spirit of collaboration, we work with the mayor's office and with the nonprofit sector to create the blueprint for early childhood success. This is our action plan for doubling the number of students reading on grade level by 2025. And we celebrated the fact that we achieved our first year benchmark in those reading goals. Keeping with our commitment to excellence and equity, we increased the number of students taking the ACT exam to 95% of eligible students, up from 88% of our students, and our average ACT scores have increased from an average score of an 18.7 to an 18.9, with more students taking the exam. Averages don't mean a whole lot, but we felt optimistic because more students in MNPS are earning a 21 or higher on the ACT, which allows more students to earn free tuition at our community colleges. 2.5 years ago, we couldn't tell you how students were reading against the standard or how they were reading against other students in the nation. Now, we rely on MAP data to help us better inform teachers' instruction, and our reading scores in grades 3 through 8 grew faster than the state on the state assessment for the first time in recent history. In fact, we're now closely monitoring key performance indicators across all areas of the strategic framework, capturing annual progress through our district scorecard. These data are easily accessible to schools through our data warehouse reporting. More students are taking advanced placement courses at the high school level. More students are taking and passing industry certification classes. Suspensions are lower than previous years, reducing suspensions by 1,782 infractions last year. In 2018, you charged our team to support your desire to end the school to prison pipeline. So we changed the administrative procedure to stop suspending pre-K through 4th grade students without the approval of the community superintendent, and we will no longer call the police on elementary students unless we're required to do so by law. Last year, in one of your boldest moves to date, you acknowledged that our poorest schools needed additional dollars to achieve state and district accountability measures, and you had the will to approve changing how we allocate federal Title I dollars to give schools that had additional challenges additional dollars without hurting any other school. In that same budgeting process, which required us to cut $15 million from our budget, we increased funding for special education services and English language learner services by $7.2 million, and we did not cut any school-level funding. If a school lost money, it was likely due to the loss of enrollment. By reevaluating who serves as literacy coaches in our schools and requiring all schools to have a certified literacy coach, you ensured that there was appropriate literacy expertise in all of our schools. In addition, you allowed me to expand rigorous reading curricula in elementary schools by revising the scope and sequences and by purchasing more rigorous units of instruction. At our last board meeting, you saw the excitement and enthusiasm of our dynamic Metro Nashville Public School elementary teachers as they shared their optimism and excitement about new literacy curricula we're piloting in our highest priority schools, curricula that is aligned to our state's high standards and gives teachers the resources they need at their fingertips. Increasingly, high-quality literacy curriculum in classrooms is an important component of our broader new literacy plan, which establishes a clear vision for what literacy development looks like across the content areas and spells out ways that teachers, families, and community partners can make this vision a reality for our students. This evidence-based literacy plan is a result of a year-long collaboration of the school district, the community, and university partners. We've strengthened our emphasis on the whole child through an integration of social and emotional learning into our academic standards and the launching of a coherent framework, and we call that the multi-tiered system of support for first Tier 1 instruction and interventions. In other words, the first time students are taught, we're trying to get it right. Our work with SEL has been recognized nationally and most recently by the Chamber Report Card Committee. Seems like it was years ago, but it was only a year and a half ago that we reorganized central office, which created 4 community superintendents and principal supervisors that we call EDSSIs. We created an Office of Organizational Development, and we created an Office of School Choice to provide more direct support to schools and differentiated supports based upon geographic areas. We established the science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics focus in 18 of our middle schools, and we ensured that coding is offered in those schools with a reduced technology ratio and more targeted professional development for our teachers. Music teacher retention and efficacy have increased through the support of the Country Music Foundation, and we're fortunate to have an additional partner, the Grammy Music Coalition, that will enable us to continue to improve the quality of music education within Metro Nashville Public Schools. We established an early college program for grades 9 through 12 in collaboration with Nashville State Community College to allow up to 100 students per year to earn a high school diploma and an associate's degree. The previous program did not require all students to earn an associate degree, and it did not begin in 9th grade. So what we have learned is, as we have embarked upon this hard journey, is that everyone is not always interested in joining you. There will be people who disagree with the pace, or they may disagree with the direction you're taking, but at the end of the day, I appreciate that this board, as a collective whole, has stayed the course, and our initial improved results speak for themselves. Having said that, we have much work to do. We still have too many students that are not reading on grade level. We still have too many students that are not achieving a 21 on the ACT, which is a minimum standard for us. We still have too many students that do not come to school consistently and too many students that are being suspended, particularly African American students, without those resources that are needed. We still have challenges recruiting and retaining enough high-quality employees, and we still have work to do with culture and climate and effectively engaging our families. And we still are working to better communicate internally and externally and to ensure that collaboration among adults is clearly focused upon the needs of our students. But even with these challenges, as we start 2019 with a sense of hope because of you, our collective board, and the thousands of employees on our team. Our former president, Barack Obama, once shared that hope is not blind optimism. It's not ignoring the enormity of the task ahead or the roadblocks that stand in our paths. It's not sitting on the sidelines or shrieking from a fight. Hope is that thing inside of us that insists, despite all of the evidence to the contrary, that something better awaits us if we just have the courage to reach for it and to work for it and to fight for it. Hope is the belief that destiny will not be written for us, but it'll be written by us, by the men and women who are not content to settle for a world as it is and who have the courage to remake the world as it should be. In one of your final acts as a collective board in 2018, at our last board retreat, you provided our team with direction on the next steps that we should take with our transition team recommendations. And I will highlight what we need to accomplish and what you approved by area. And that's what we have on our screen. So we start with our student achievement. We didn't have anything to do because we completed all 30 of those recommendations that had come in that first year, as we had shared. But as we move to the area of school choice, we had one recommendation that we wanted to follow, or 3 recommendations that we want to follow up on. Excuse me. First, you wanted us to move forward this semester on developing a regular schedule for reevaluating geographic priority zones, zoned options, and other optional boundaries to promote the goals of the diversity management plan. And we plan on tackling this year as a part of our MNPS Next work, which is ahead of us. We will continue partnering with the Nashville Public Education Foundation to refine and improve School Match. We've worked on this already, and principals have a version 1 to give us feedback, but we'll continue to move forward with that. We will consider whether charter middle school students should be included in the STRIDE program, and we will use enrollment centers as information hubs. In the area of communications and community engagement, you shared that we should produce an annual report to the community that candidly and transparently outlines achievements, areas of focus, challenges, and progress towards the larger vision of our strategy. And we created a 1.0 scorecard last year, but we're going to continue to refine it and make it easier for the community to understand it. We'll do a better job of highlighting and celebrating our staff's successes as well. Under family engagement, we've begun the process to re-engage our Parent Advisory Council, and we will review and revise our parent engagement policy. We'll also regularly track and report data related to the coverage of the district and communications office staff's time to ensure greater focus and proactive versus reactive communications with a strong public narrative about our district. In the area of human resources and talent management, you shared that we should move on creating a principal and hiring manager advisory board to advise the executive human resources officer about challenge areas and opportunities for improvement, that we should institute a strong recognition program for all staff that recognizes employees who devote their time, skills, and energy to support and improve student achievement, and you charged us to strategically manage the performance of employees in the district by developing a talent management report that includes the performance of each employee and other relevant employee data, such as employee assignments and attendance, to identify employees' relative areas of strength and needs for growth. Lastly, as a board, you committed to working collaboratively in the areas of policy, advocacy, and budgeting. I want to thank you for providing us the clarity to do our work and for the remainder of the semester, and by your participation at our board retreats and your collaborative spirit through last year. We will provide you with an update on the transition team recommendations and our progress in late April or early May. It is my true honor and privilege to serve this board, but most importantly, to serve this great city. I am excited about our collaboration this year, and I look forward to our continued progress in finding collaborative solutions to our greatest challenges, because we do have challenges as a district. This concludes my director's report, and I can answer any questions that you may have.
We good? All right.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to make some comments.
Well, hold on, we're going to go through announcements, and I'll start with you.
Okay, that'd be
So I just
great.
want to make
Thank you.
sure. So no comments on questions?
No,
on this?
no
All right.
questions.
All right, so starting, going into announcements, we'll start with Ms. Frobe.
I want to make these comments, and also had a couple of motions that I wanted to make. So first of all, I just want to share some data that's been brought to the board by our data department and the state report card. According to our data department, our test scores overall in the district are flat. There's evidence that our achievement gaps are widening. The state report card shows that our graduation rates are falling, our dropout rate is growing, our proficiency rates are down in every subject area, math, ELA, and science. Overall, we received a 1 out of 5 in growth for the whole district, which is the lowest possible score. And the number of priority schools has more than doubled from 9 to 21. And that's my only comment. I have 2 motions that I would like to make. First of all, I would like to make a motion tonight, if possible, to hold our board retreat transparently with Channel 3 and any meetings that we have right now. I'd like to do that tonight since we have the board retreat coming up on the 18th. And I have another one that I would like to make. So I've made, you may make the motion. I would like to move that we have our board retreat here transparently with Channel 3 here on the board floor so that Channel 3 can film the board retreat on the 18th.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Any other comments or discussion?
So can you talk about why you want to do that?
I think it will help build trust. We obviously have issues going on with trust and with transparency in the community, and I think it would be helpful for us just to have Channel 3 at our meetings. Last year when I was doing the committees, we started having those here, which I think is, you know, I think the council does that for all their committee meetings. I think it's just something we need to be doing publicly, and we need to be doing everything as publicly as possible.
I'll simply say, you know, the will of the board will preside, but that is not the purpose of a retreat. The retreat should be the opportunity for the board to come together as 9 adults, to air concerns, to be very honest about the things that are giving us pause with regards to the challenges that we face, to be very honest about where we have failed as a board to provide the kind of leadership that this administration needs to achieve the results that we have charged them with. The purpose of a retreat, by definition, is retreating from the environment in which you do your work, which is at this board table. To retreat from that space into a space that, yes, should produce actually more honesty. Because what I have observed about us as a board is that when we've got a camera, all bets are off. And so my hesitation, and I want to be honest about what my hesitation is. Do we have anything to hide in a retreat? Absolutely not. All of our meetings give public notice. Anyone who wants to come to a school board retreat is more than welcome. Anyone, not just the media. Anyone who wants to come to a retreat is more than welcome. My hesitation is that that will limit more than anything, more than facilitate transparency and honesty. Again, it just creates a forum for a different level of rhetoric that is not conducive to the fundamental definition of what it means to have a retreat. Again, the will of this board will take precedence, but as we have done so far, I just want to give notice that not as board chair and not as anything to hide, but that it fundamentally violates the definition of a retreat. I am not in favor of it being at the board table where we're doing our work, because the reason you retreat is to retreat from that environment into a different environment for a different level of conversation. Any other comments?
I would hope that with the cameras rolling, that we are going to be professional. I mean, we should be at all times, whether it's in the back room or not. And I think that we need to make sure that we're fully transparent. We all know that during the retreats, nobody comes and things are said that should not be said. So I think that we just need to do everything transparently and publicly, and that's all I have.
Sorry, define nobody. Who is the nobody that comes?
We usually do not have anyone at our retreats. Every once in a while, we'll have a reporter roll in.
Oh, you mean non-board members?
Right.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
saying if it's a public meeting, it should be fully public. We don't have people at the retreats, and I think it's best that we have everything in front of cameras so that we just have no questions about transparency. That's what I'm asking for.
Okay, so I would like to call for a division of your motion. You included retreats and committee meetings together.
Okay.
So I would respectfully ask that you divide those into two separate motions.
All right.
One to ask for the committee meetings to happen here so that Channel 3 can record them, and a separate motion to request the retreats to happen here so that Channel 3 can record them.
Okay. I would like to modify my motion that we have our committee meetings here on the board floor with Channel 3 filming.
Okay, hold that one. Can I get a second on that motion?
Second. Committee.
Let me first, I need to
Yeah,
withdraw my
the first
first
one,
motion
yes.
before I modify.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, if you restate your motion again, sorry, Ms. Frobe.
I would like to move that we hold our committee meetings here on the floor with Channel 3 rolling.
Second.
Any other discussion? Can I get a show of hands? I don't think we'll have that one electronically. Discuss with a show of hands, all in favor of moving committee meetings to the board floor? It's unanimous. I guess that's how many of us are still here? 7?
Okay.
Your second motion, Ms.
My
Rowe?
second motion is to hold our retreat on January the 18th here on the board floor with Channel 3 rolling.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Is it necessary?
Because that's what I'm trying to decide if it's necessary, just because. I will say this. Oh, go ahead, Ms. Elright. Go ahead.
Thank you. I have really benefited from the retreats and would like to state that we have actually had people that are outside of the board come into those meetings and be a part of them as they are open to the public. So once again, I'd like to echo that you are welcome to come, but I do think that there is some importance behind the theory of it being a retreat or in a different location. It is still within MNPS's area. It is easily accessible. It is at the Martin Center. That's correct, right? So you can easily, sometimes, but it has been the last 3 that I've attended, which is all 3 since I have been elected, by the way. Check mark. So I would like to just say that I have really appreciated the honesty and also the flexibility that that has provided to us. And within that, we have been very successful with getting to common grounds and having some difficult conversations that I thought were helpful. So for that reason, I would like to continue to have them where we are currently having them.
So now that I've had some time to formulate my thoughts, they were very politically correct in everything that they said, but flat out, I'm one of those people that I like to ask the dumb questions. There will be times when I want to dig in, I want to ask something that may have already been stated, and sometimes just for embarrassment's sake, it is just a lot easier for me as a lifelong learner to have that bit of not even seclusion, but just that bit of I don't know, kind of a security blanket, just that, this won't be televised and replayed over and over on YouTube when I asked about a budget item that has already been explained to me, because I'm sure I get on Mr. Henson's nerves whenever we're in a retreat. So I do want to make this very clear for the media, for the viewing public, for Channel 3 that's here, for anyone sitting here, that this is not to hide anything. We want everyone to come. But I personally want to be able to have that time to ask the dumb questions and have really robust discussions and not be fearful that 25 years from now, my son can play it on YouTube and laugh at me. That's my selfish request, but those are the thoughts that I have.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Can we get ready for the vote? All in favor of moving the retreats to the board table here in the board room?
It was just for the next retreat.
Move the next retreat. Raise your hand. We have 2 in favor. All opposed? 5 against. Motion fails. Any other
One
comments?
other motion.
Sure.
So my other motion is around the issues with the teachers, which has kind of led to everything that's happened tonight. We have a lot of teachers and principals and leaders in the district who are fearful of speaking out. They are fearful of retribution. And I've been asking for over a year that we have some sort of poll in the district that would rate leadership, because when we do the annual surveys of schools, typically they're just rating their schools. And I know I've gotten hundreds of teachers reaching out to me with concerns and complaints. They feel like they don't have a voice, and they're fearful of coming to speaking at the meeting and coming to speak at the meeting. And I think that we need to have a way to quantify really what's going on in the district and the culture in the district. And so I've been thinking about what teachers and principals and central office staff, what would make them feel comfortable participating in a poll? Because I'll be honest, they don't even like the surveys that we're sending out each year about culture. They're afraid that somehow their email addresses are connected, and they're afraid that they'll be found out. And it's the wrong. We really need to be offering them a forum for feedback to the district. So I think the way to do this is to conduct some sort of Gallup poll. And I can just bring notice at this meeting that I would like to vote on that at the next meeting in January. I would need to, and I don't know what type of RFP process that might be needed, but it would have to be a very independent outside organization that is well respected. So I guess what I'd like to move is that we conduct a district survey that focuses on central office leadership and the leadership of the district specifically, and that survey be given to all principals, all teachers, and all central office staff. And then that way we can have honest and transparent discussions at our board retreats or wherever, and particularly with regard to the director's evaluation, about where we stand with regard to culture. So I guess I would ask a question of the staff. If we were to try to do a Gallup poll, I suppose we would have to go through an RFP process and bid that out. But if not, maybe we could get a report to the board at our next meeting about the cost of this and who might be able to conduct the survey.
So we do realize that this also costs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's worth the cost to find out where we are with regard to leadership and culture in the district.
Ms. Bucks?
Oh, yeah,
Don't choke. Don't choke.
I'm actually in favor of this. I think that would be fine if we had the funding for it. But I do want to ask that we would include teachers' feelings on school board members, because to be quite frank, and I have hesitated to talk about this just because I want to be very respectful of my colleagues. But as soon as I decided to run for this school board seat, I was met with all kinds of, well, some of those school board members, as soon as they don't like a teacher or a principal, they're fired. That was a narrative that was floating around even while I was a teacher. I remember this culture of fear in 2009 when I first began teaching at MNPS. So I would just ask that we include the school board, because we want to model for our administration what we expect, and we want to make sure that we're not doing the things that we are blaming others for doing, because I wasn't there. I've never had a school board member to get me fired from a job, but I heard it more than once, more than twice, more than 10 times, to be quite frank. So just something to keep in mind, something to think about.
Mrs. Bush?
Yes, thank you. One of the things that, just to piggyback off of Amy, the reason why she definitely has passion about this, and we all should. It is true. We do have a problem with morale and culture in our schools. We have lost over 50 teachers, certified teachers, and this is serious. We have lost them, certified teachers that your child may be taught in front of a computer now because they don't have a certified teacher, math teacher, science teacher, English teacher to have engagement in instructional time. So this is serious, and this is real. I can use my own son as an example, and he's in the audience today. He struggled after October, losing his math teacher from Hillsborough High School. He was left, and his peers, left in front of a computer to teach themselves. Yes, they had some supervision. They had supervision from a substitute teacher that was not certified in order to answer those tough questions regarding that particular math course. So this is real, and this hit home for me because I know it was there because we had other parents to come and speak to us about this, but it definitely hit home when my own son came home and told me that I don't know what we're gonna do. My peers are skipping class because they don't have any hope anymore. And of course, he knew better not to skip class, and he hung in there. Unfortunately, he didn't do as well on his final exam. He had a B in the class, but because the final exam was so hard, he did not have the support that he needed from a certified math teacher. So this is real, and this is the reason why we've lost so many teachers, because there is a culture problem, as she spoke about. And I will like to read this text message. I do get text messages, I get emails, I get Facebook messages on my page. Countless number of teachers that are saying just that they're afraid, they're leaving. The culture, they can't take it anymore. No support. I can go on and on and on about what's happening in our schools. And I want to read something, and it's very troubling. And this is something that I want to state. We had a teacher to come to speak at our last public hearing, and she went through the process of contacting our very own Cameo, and she went through the whole process, and she ended up texting me overnight and told me, and I'll read her text, and I won't expose who she is. I am in trouble for referencing Dr. J's unkind comments about teachers. Will he be held to task? And I could not believe what I read. I tried to reach back out to her, but I think she's afraid. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are really clear about what's happening. It's not about protecting a superintendent who is not doing the job of this district. We are losing teachers, and we are losing good teachers. And it is what it is. And I will not just sit here on a board floor when I know what my position is as a board member, and my responsibilities are for these children and teachers. That's my job. That should be our job. So I agree with what Amy is saying. Thank you.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, hold on. I need you to finish because we're in the middle of announcements. So is there anything else you want to add, Ms. Froh, please add, then we'll move on to announcement. I mean, we'll continue with the announcements. If you want to comment on that during your announcements, you can, but we're moving forward with announcements. So if you have something final to say.
So let me make a motion. Let's do this. Let me make a motion to have our administration look into a Gallup poll and report back to us about the cost of such a poll and the process that we would need to follow to engage an organization like Gallup, and then we can discuss that at our meeting on the 22nd.
Okay,
So that's my motion.
How about can we do this? Can we just ask? Thank you. Whoever does RFPs, put an RFP out there. I'd love to.
Can I say something? Mm-hmm. I think any conversation about a survey for staff must include an analysis of surveys that are already being done. I don't know who's doing them for us now. I don't know if it's a third party or not. I don't know what it costs. I don't know what the results are. I'd like to see if it's truly possible that a teacher's email or whatever could be tracked, if that's actually the case. If it's not, I think it's not appropriate to make assumptions about something until we can prove it. I know that I was a teacher and I filled out things honestly. I'm not disregarding that teachers feel perhaps like it's not safe for them to speak their mind, but I think any potential conversation about more surveys requires us to look at what we do now.
I don't disagree.
You have any additional announcements you'd like to make, Mrs. Walker?
Yeah. Oh, no.
You have any more announcements?
No.
No?
No, I don't.
She's done.
Okay. So We have a PAC meeting, Hillsborough Cluster PAC meeting on January 31st at 6 p.m. at JT Moore. I want to also give a big shout out to some Hillsborough students. Last month, the Hillsborough Mu Alpha Theta Math Honor Society assisted Percy Priest with their math night, which was really inspiring. We also had the health science education students at Hillsborough partner at Harris Hillman to assist with events like the State Fair, trick-or-treating, visiting businesses in the Hillsborough Village, and supporting other events. First Lady Chrissy Haslam invited JT Moore's art department to provide art to decorate the governor's mansion this holiday season. I want to give a shout out to JT Moore's staff for facilitating hundreds of student-led parent conferences on their campus and in the community at Watson Grove Baptist Church. And I want to encourage everyone to donate books for Bookem for the 4th grade annual book drive at Julia Green. That's happening this month. Thanks.
I do have a few announcements. I'm giving notice tonight that I'm bringing a resolution at our next board meeting on January the 22nd, proclaiming MNPS schools and students honor no name calling week scheduled for the week of January 21st through 25th. A student at MLK, Joey Ling, brought this to my attention, so I want to tell him thank you for bringing this to my attention. I'd like to give Mr. Kevin Walker, a McGavock High School parent, a huge shout out for his efforts in starting the very first PTO at McGavock High School. He organized a very nice Christmas breakfast for the faculty and staff on their last day of school on that Friday the 21st. And so we have our second meeting scheduled for next Tuesday. So I'm really enthusiastic at the response that he's gotten, and so I'm very appreciative of Mr. Walker. McGavock, I want to say a big, huge congrats to the counselors at McGavock High School. They applied for and were granted their RAMP designation right before Christmas break. RAMP is an acronym that stands for Recognized ASCA Model Program. McGavock High School is the only high school in the state of Tennessee to receive this designation, and the second school in any tier in MNPS. And I know the counselors at McGavock have been working really hard around this because at least a year and a half, because they've invited me to be part of the process. And so huge congrats to them. One more time for my colleagues in the listening audience that this coming Thursday at 5 p.m. at Council Chambers, we will have a meeting with their Budget and Finance Committee and their Budget Committee, and their Education Committee. So it's really important, I think, that we all be there as a show of support. Another shout out to some McGavock High School students, particularly first Patrick Thorson, who was selected as a percussionist in the 2019 Honor Band of America. It's quite a feat for any student, especially a sophomore, so I know he'll represent us well. In addition, Cedric Quinn is a bassoon player, and he made All-State Band as well as the FFA Honor Band earlier last year. And then Cedric, Patrick, and Ben Earl, all three made the All-State Band. So congrats to these very talented young men. And I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, but I'm just going to piggyback on a suggestion that Ms. Frog made earlier, and maybe we can use TSBA for that survey.
I think I've asked that, but I think they said they don't conduct that kind of survey, but certainly willing to explore that.
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. I have several. All right. So first, on December 12th, I was deeply honored to certify and present the Winter 2018 class of graduates from the Academy of Hickory Hollow. I am not their board member. They're actually in District 6. But I was so welcomed and so appreciative of meeting with these excellent students that have gone through the process of graduating from high school and doing some superb work. Additionally, during that time, I was able to meet, want to make sure I get everybody's names right, Mr. Fellman, who was the principal. He was so warm and had an extreme passion for those students, and it was very evident. Additionally, I want to thank Dr. Darnell, I'm so sorry, with Simon. And so I so appreciate that they're partnering with us to get these students to success and changing their lives. 2, I am very proud of Dr. Critchlow on her award that we recognized earlier today. Joining the board and having a relationship with her has been wonderful, and we in District 2 are thankful to have you. And then lastly,
Amen.
We are, and I recognize it, and I hope, Donnie, you're there. I see your face.
There she is.
Donnie knows I love her. All right. And lastly, so I pride myself on being a lifelong learner, as we've talked about many times, Bugs. And I like to challenge myself on difficult topics, especially those regarding equity. Therefore, I am, once again, wanting to make sure I have all my words correct. Therefore, I am going through a current self-study and encouraging anyone that would like to come through that with me. So this study is created by activist and speaker Layla Said. She can be found on any social media group that you would like to find, but I'm also happy to provide that information. So I'm inviting anyone interested in a personal reflection on their white privilege or to explore their dismantle and work on their internalized white supremacy to go through this with me. It is a 28-day, every time.
Passion. We'll take it. We'll take it.
So it's a 28-day free process. It is also online, so you can download it for free. It is free to anyone. You do not have to be an educator, but I encourage anybody that would like to do it with them or with me. So I find this work especially important. You can do it. You can do it. Yeah. I find this work especially important in reflection of the we'll say ignorant or willful disregard to the historical context of protesting someone with a mask on, particularly a person of color. So I greatly appreciate your support. Would like it if you would join me. Thank you so much. And I apologize.
Mrs. Bush?
Yes. As we know that Southeast Davidson County is the fastest growing district in Davidson County, or MNPS. And I actually just had a conversation with David Prophet. We are in desperate need of a middle school, and that is something that we have been really trying to champion in District 6. And it looks like we're kind of moving forward now. He has identified some land, and I should be getting some update on the negotiations and all that good stuff coming up soon in the future. And I will be holding a community meeting regarding that in the future. So thank you, guys.
TJ, quit being nosy. Thank you. What? Oh, sorry, she missed her. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed my opportunity. We did a lot of work last semester around elementary suspensions, expulsions, and arrests and the disparity that it was causing. I just wanted to, again, thank the administration and the community members that helped us with that, and thank you, Dr. Joseph, for the directive that will curb that. But I guess asking to put you all on notice that I'll be bringing a resolution to the governance committee meeting that further solidifies the board's support of this mandate or this directive. I'll bring that on the 22nd, and hopefully it will be read at that next board meeting. I also just want to briefly acknowledge my little sister, Brandy Buggs, who is a teacher in our district. She's one of those ELL teachers that is just really fighting, and I thank you, sis. And my stepmom, Terry Buggs, who is a paraprofessional. We thank you for the work that you do. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. You can't leave now. They're not going to let you out that door. Okay, that wasn't your car. We're fine. Okay. So I yielded my time to my vice chair at her request. And I'd like to take this opportunity to share my comments. I don't really have announcements, as it were. Stay to the end. It's always good at the end. So one of the things, and I've referenced this book before, and I love it, Leadership Promises for Every Day by John Maxwell. And I don't read them every day. You'll see there's a bunch of Post-it notes of ones that I go back to often. But today I picked it up because I've been struggling for quite some time, given the things that have occurred during the week with regards to this board. And so I needed some shoring up, as it were. So I think Christian went from disappointed to something else, and I don't think I ever made it past disappointed. I have often said, and I will continue to say, that at this table are 9 very talented people that come here, and we're elected and we're divided into 9 districts because we represent 9 very unique portions of this city. But at the end of the day, what we're charged to do is make a decision and move on. I think Mayor Briley said it best at the report card meeting when he kept saying, disagree and then move on. Disagree and then move on. So I keep wondering and I keep struggling, trying to figure out, why are we so stuck? Why are we so stuck? Why are we so stuck on whether our handling of sexual harassment cases has been appropriate when we've had attorney after attorney after attorney come to us and say, no one in this administration has done anything wrong. We heard earlier, I can't disclose what was in detail as discussed in executive session, but I will share a compliment of Deborah's story, and Sharon, whose last name I can't remember because it starts with a P. Who? What? Yeah, Pertilli? Pertella? Sharon, are you here? Yeah. Sharon, yes. All that matters is her first name is Sharon. Let's be clear about that. And that they are excellent HR professionals. They are excellent HR professionals, tops in this space of what they do. That I remember, that I recall, that I share. I don't know why we're stuck on all the teachers are afraid. All the teachers are scared. Everybody's afraid. The phrase culture of fear has been echoed at this table from director after director after director. So I can't get past that. I don't understand why we're stuck on that. And I don't understand why we're stuck on the driver. I really don't. But I'm going to own, since I was board chair at the time, that's my fault. Because you know what I should have done? Is modified his contract. Because I look at every other official in this city that's responsible for the same 525 square miles, they all have drivers. Failure on our part. Failure on our part to provide him with the resource that he needed to do his job effectively. I don't care how much he gets paid. His responsibility is much greater. It is much greater. He does not have the departments under him that the mayor has. He does not have the staff under him that the police chief has. He doesn't have the number of people under him that the fire chief has. He has 88,500 students and 11,000 employees who expect to see him in their buildings, at their events, in their activities. They expect him to be engaged and not engaged from behind his desk or a closed door. So that's a failure on our part. The board that was seated at that time of hiring him and finalizing his contract should have had the foresight, and I own that. I will take that one. But I'm still stuck. And so when I opened up this book to January the 8th, I hope it's still the 8th, we've been here a long time. The title of this reading, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, church and state, whatever, God is good. And when I close my eyes and I say, guide me and help me so that whatever comes out of my mouth helps somebody. And I open this book and the title of the reading is called The Blame Game. It says, when things go wrong, the natural tendency is to look for someone to blame. You can go all the way back to the Garden of Eden on this one, and we all know about that story. So we go on down to the end, and it ends with people who blame others for their failures never overcome them. They simply move from problem to problem. To reach your potential, you must continually improve yourself. And you can't do that if you don't take responsibility for your actions and learn from the mistakes. And so that leads you to the natural next step is, well, what does it mean as the board to take responsibility? It means being present more than anything else. If you're not at the table for the discussion, for the debate, for the intellectual gathering of information, you can't be a part of the solution. And intentionally deciding to not be a part and not being at the table is a willful disregard for what we were elected to do. That includes not coming to a meeting when you can make it, and I'm speaking specifically about our retreats where the work gets done. That's where the work gets done. Not being in a committee meeting because instead you want to do a television interview while a committee meeting is going on. That is not taking responsibility. That disappoints me. and it hurts me. Now, I don't know how you feel as a person out there casting your vote and paying your taxes, but it disappoints me. It's called being responsible. Being responsible is not hiding behind or asking hundreds of people to come for you to hide behind. Because our job is very, very simple at the end of the day. It is very simple. And as Ms. Froh clearly pointed out, the new policy has these 4 different things on it, but it all boils down to the same thing, that we are charged with setting policies that support the work of the district and the people who are trying to get the work done, that we create a budget, and I appreciate the public comment today, that budget be reflective of what it is we need to achieve the results we've articulated that we want to achieve, that it's not watered down, we don't downplay it, we don't sugarcoat it so that nobody has to make the tough decision. We ask for what is needed for 88,000 students and 11,000 employees, and to achieve the results that we claim we want to achieve. Just that simple. And third and finally, we hire and monitor the director of schools. So back to the spirit of disagree and move on, for those of us at this table who are so woefully disappointed in the leader that we hired with a 9-0 vote, couple of things I need you to do. Number one, be very honest with yourself. Have you done everything that you're responsible for doing to help and be supportive of him and his staff? Honestly, have you done everything? Going back to the new policy, as I pointed out, number 4 says promotion. Of all the tweets and all the Facebook posts, how many of them have articulated the good work that the same teachers that we're claiming to support are out there doing? How many of those tweets or Facebook posts have lauded these priority schools? And I hate that phrase, I'm gonna come up with something new, but the students in those schools and the leaders in those buildings and the teachers in those buildings that I still go every day, with numbers that may remain flat, they may actually decline. They're throwing PTA spaghetti parties, they're washing clothes, they're doing whatever they have to do to get parents engaged, and still they go. And still they go. And still they go. And yet they'll come and present the good work, and we call it a dog and pony show to their face, which was amazing. So I say again, if we're that frustrated and disappointed, there is not a time when you can't come to this table and put the motion on the floor. I move that we immediately terminate the director of schools contract.
She's not really moving that.
I'm just giving an example. That if that's how you feel, make the motion. Make the motion, and then we will disagree and move on. Because this hindrance of productive conversation, this hindrance of real support for the good work, one of the texts that also went out said this could make national news. Oh, we're making national news, guys. Trust me, we are making national news, because this is the behavior that we're bringing to the IT city. This is the behavior that we're executing on behalf not only of 88,000 students, but 72% more are students of color. Same percentage of students, if not more, are living in poverty. And we're the ones that are charged to make their lives better. We really are. It ultimately lands at our doorstep. So I simply say, I want to share just one more thing, and some of you, I don't know, I know many of the central office staff participated with Cigna in their, what was it, we're trying to, don't embarrass yourself in front of the media. What's it called? Project management of media relations and things like that. Yeah, for the lack of a better word. Spreadum is telling us how to talk to the media. What are the things you should say, you know, when they try to, all this good stuff. And so they brought us in, several of us in here, one by one, and they asked us, he pretended to go through what an interview would be. So he looked at dozens of board meetings and read all the press, all of our tweets, all of our Facebook posts, all of our interviews, all the things that we've been saying as a board. And he put me in that chair, and he started asking me questions. Because these are the kinds of questions based on the board's rhetoric that I would expect that you should have. So I think you should be prepared. But the final question he asked me was, why are you here? Why are you here? He said, you've been doing this for 11 years. Why do you keep coming? So I'm going to tell you that we burned that file because I did the ugly cry. I did. It broke me down. It broke me down because this was right after the, teachers coming up from the priority school. This was right after a bad meeting. And when he asked me, why do I come? I said, because every day, 11,000 people come to this mountain and they try to move it. Whether it bends, whether it gives, whether it pushes, whether it does anything, they continue to come. Can I get those pictures up, please? And so as I continued to sit there and I thought about and thinking about what I would say, I got these images. And so these are old pictures, and then you've seen them before. They're just not in color usually when you see them. But it's always a group of physicians sitting around pontificating about what's wrong with the patient, but nobody's paying attention to the patient. Show me the next one. The next one's even better. There's pontificating. What's wrong with the patient? The patient's about to fall out the bed dead, but everybody's arguing about why they believe, what they believe should be done. What could we, if we could just do this, if we gave a contract to this vendor, if we restored this program, we're trying to articulate the solution amongst ourselves, as opposed to actually, and the whole time, the patient, our students are dying. That's what's happening at this table. The 9 of us are so intent upon wanting to be the one that's right, the one that's going to articulate what's wrong, the one that's going to push forth what the solution needs to be, and the patient, our students, are dying. So I want to again thank each of you as community members that have come to this meeting and sat here for a very long time, as employees that come to this work building, this place every day, as teachers and building level leaders that drive into your schools every day, that I thank you. And I join you at the foot of this mountain, and I join you without regret, without hesitation, as frustrating as it can be at times. Because if you can do this with what the challenges that we have in our buildings, what excuse do I have? I don't have one. Because in spite of sometimes the ill-timed and ill-thought-out response you get from us, you continue to come. Because I tell you, every one of those teachers that stood at that podium and got accused of being in a dog and pony show, they were at work on Wednesday, doing it all over again. So I continue to thank you for your efforts, for your time, and for choosing MNPS to be the beneficiaries of your expertise. Happy New Year.
Oh, that me? That's you. Oh, be there. No further business. This meeting is adjourned. Okay.
She said, be there no further business. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.